Spain is holding a minute of silence to pay tribute to the victims of COVID-19. This is the King Felipe there and the royal family marking this minute of silence. A solemn moment there in Spain, paying tribute to the more than 27,000 victims who died in the country from the coronavirus. And here is the Spanish Parliament also taking part in this minute of silence. Here we are seeing people around the country taking part in this ceremony. Again, this is the beginning of a 10-day mourning period that the government has declared there in Spain to honor the 27,000 people who died from COVID-19. And our reporter, Jan-Philipp Schultz, is in Spain. They're witnessing this ceremony. Jan, what is this moment? What has this meant to Spain? And how is the country trying to look ahead?
Spain is a traumatized country at the moment. The pictures of overcrowded hospitals, of patients begging for help, are still very fresh in the collective memory of the people. And my impression is that it will still take a very long time for those wounds to heal. And I think two things make it worse at the moment. Spain is a very divided country when it comes to politics. The right-wing opposition is strongly criticizing the management of the crisis by the left-wing government. And the economic predictions are getting worse and worse. Every day, several millions of Spaniards have already lost their job. So the big hope at the moment is that there will still be some kind of summer holiday season here in Spain, which is a very big economic factor for the country. But this is not sure yet if this will actually take place this year.
All right, we see people clapping there as part of this ceremony. Flags in public buildings around the country flying at half-mast. We saw a little bit earlier King Felipe presiding over the ceremony, that minute of silence in Spain. And our reporter we were just talking to there, Jan-Philipp Schultz. Thank you, Jan-Philipp. As Spain honors the victims, 27,000 victims of COVID-19. International donors have pledged over 3 billion euros to support refugees and migrants from Venezuela as the coronavirus pandemic worsens their plight. More than 5 million Venezuelans have fled the economic chaos under President Nicolas Maduro. Here's the story of one of those exiles.
It's a job no one else wants to do. Grueling, dangerous work, recovering bodies of COVID-19 victims. Juan Fañete used to work as an electrician in his native Venezuela before he migrated to Peru 2 years ago to escape the dire economic crisis back home. In his new job, he and his fellow workers from the Pedrango Funeral Home collect as many as 10 bodies a day, more than 400 since March. Here they are picking up the body of a man who committed suicide because he couldn't get treatment after testing positive for the virus. Joan always worries the dangerous work he has to do might end up harming his family. Before returning home, he always showers and washes his clothes with disinfectant. Sometimes he gargles with salt water. I'm always afraid to infect my family when I go back home to my children, but it's something that has to be faced, and I have to continue working to put food on the table. Peru has over 108,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases and over 3,000 deaths, the second hardest hit country in Latin America after Brazil. The current lockdown conditions are making it even harder for the estimated 850,000 Venezuelan migrants in Peru to make ends meet. Juan has to keep working and hoping he'll stay healthy for his family, including his elderly parents who remained in Venezuela.
And let's take a look now at some of today's other coronavirus developments. The number of people who have died of COVID-19 has surpassed 350,000. That's according to Johns Hopkins University in the U.S. And the United States accounts for about a third of those deaths. Thailand has extended its state of emergency laws for another month until the end of June. The government says the laws are still needed as the country gradually eases restrictions. India's top biomedical research body has backed the use of the anti-malaria drug hydroxy-chloroquine as a treatment for coronavirus. This comes after the WHO suspended its trial of the drug, citing safety concerns. Greek doctors are visiting the country's islands to test residents for COVID-19. They are hoping to bolster testing capabilities there before tourists are to arrive. Greece will begin to open up its borders to international travelers on June 15th.
Like Germany, Japan has emerged from coronavirus lockdown with a relatively low toll on public health, but the economy has taken a big hit. The EU and Japan have pledged to work more closely in restarting cross-border trade in goods and services. That will come as music to the ears of businesses in Japan.
Japan has had some of the world's most relaxed lockdown measures. It was not until the 7th of April that Japan declared a state of emergency. The government didn't even enforce a general lockdown. Citizens were only asked to stay at home. This week, shops opened again. Even for many Japanese, Japan is moving too quickly. I think lifting emergency measures came a bit early. But many won't survive if companies and shops don't reopen fast. The Abe government is in a hurry. Although the coronavirus pandemic in Japan has been relatively mild, with only 850 deaths, it has caused the world's third largest economy to slide into a recession in the first quarter. Looking at the GDP data from January to March, we think the coronavirus measures, such as social distancing, had an impact on the public. In the second quarter, the damage from the COVID crisis will worsen. Experts expect an economic slump of 20 to 30% this year. To get the country back on its feet, Tokyo is implementing whopping stimulus packages worth nearly $2 trillion. But the Japanese are no strangers to stimulus packages. And there are questions whether the world's most indebted country can afford that kind of spending.
European fishermen are used to weathering all sorts of storms, but the coronavirus pandemic is a new one. Fish markets and seafood restaurants are shut down, supply chains are broken, and large vessels are anchored in harbors. Thousands of fishermen are at risk of losing their jobs.
Normally, this part of the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of France is busy with boat and yacht traffic. But the seas are quieter than usual, and that's a problem for many small-scale fishermen in this area. April to June are their most important months. While normal orders have dried up, some fishermen are turning to a service familiar to many: home delivery. Our usual clients are restaurants, and we lost them due to the shutdown. The remaining customers are private citizens, so we have to start delivering fish to most of them. We fish in the morning and do deliveries in the afternoon. That makes for long work days. Thanks to coronavirus, sales are down by half. But these fishermen say deliveries on the phone are helping them stay afloat. I have some nice ones weighing around 700 grams, maybe a kilo, and I have some smaller ones too. From the docks to your door, that's the service these fishermen are now providing as big buyers like restaurants and caterers remain closed for business. But the same people catching the fish are also making the deliveries. Workdays can last from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. In the town of Antibes, fishermen now have permission to sell their catches directly in port. For fishermen that have to wait out this storm longer term, there are some EU aid measures. But these locals say they prefer to work as much as possible, while keeping necessary precautions in place. In some parts of the Mediterranean and Black Sea, more than 90% of fishing boats have already stopped operating. Meanwhile, in Antibes and elsewhere along the European coast, fishermen are trying their best to keep working.